Cherise Nicole with CNikky.
And you're watching CNikky.com.
Browning, and you're watching CNikky.com.
And you're watching CNikky.com.
And you're watching CNikky.com.
Right.
Listen, you're watching CNikky.com.
And you are watching CNikky.com. See ya. Y'all see CNikky.
Yes. Well, one thing that I did see this past season that I really loved about you was how you addressed Ferguson. So tell me how that affected your life.
I think I saw it as the first. Not saying that nothing has happened before that was worthwhile of us protesting, but that was the first thing that happened close to me where I felt it was a time for us to speak up. As far as our generation, we haven't had. I mean, our parents or grandparents, they had a lot of times in their lives where they were out there protesting. They were fighting for us as a people. I think this is one of the first things in my generation that I was close to. That I felt like it was something, go out there and speak up for our people, our culture. And with me being, our first restaurant was right on that street. Right. So a lot of people didn't realize we were like right there in the mix of it. And originally, when you see it on TV, it looks like people were just out there protesting and they were rioting. That was the word they were using. They were rioting and tearing things up. That wasn't the case. People were, a lot of it was provoked by the authorities a lot of times. But in the beginning, you didn't see that on television. We can talk all day on that subject, man. But things have not. I want things to. I think that should have sparked an awakening in a lot of young people's minds, because even though our parents, our grandparents went through those struggles for us, things really have not changed as much. I mean, we have a lot more freedoms, so we think, but it kind of shows you at the blink of an eye, it can take you back to, the good old days. Yeah.
Absolutely. Did it change your outlook on life in general?
It kind of took me out of my comfort zone. I think we have all been in. Our generation, we're all in a comfort zone. We're able to do things that our parents weren't able to do, and we take it all for granted. But for me, seeing tanks and those large military vehicles and the guys with the AK-47. You got the militia right there in the neighborhood. You got tanks in front of the McDonald's. That was just a hell of a thing to wake up to. Yeah. And it was literally, you wake up and you drive down the street, you go around the corner, there's a bunch of tanks and you got Army guys, and so it was just an eye-opener. It took me out of the comfort zone,
Well, look, seriously, this is one thing that I struggled with when, everything was going on. Not that it hasn't stopped going on, but especially when it went on with Ferguson, is that from watching it from home, you feel it, and you feel the pain, and you feel the anger, and you understand it, especially if you're black, you understand it. But at the same time, it's hard for me to understand why people riot and destroy their own neighborhoods. Like, what do you think about that?
I think one thing I said to people out there was, yes, you're angry. Yes, you have something to say and you want to be heard. But don't take your message so far that you're going to get yourself in trouble and hurt someone else or hurt yourself. And you hurt yourself by getting yourself locked up, because once you're in jail or in that system, everything you have to say, they don't have to listen anymore. You're taking, you're giving, I won't say you're giving them what they want, but once you cross that line, your message is muffled because you're behind bars, And then even once you are released, your message is still going to be muffled because you have the X on your back now. You can't get a job. You can't vote in most instances. You're putting yourself in a bad position. So be very smart. Keep your message. Say it loud, enunciate it, but don't say it so loudly that you're going to get yourself in trouble by the rules that they have set. So that's one thing I said to a lot of young guys when I was out there every night. And that's one thing, that's one message I was preaching, say it, but don't get yourself in trouble saying what you have to say. And don't hurt anybody else, because that's not why we're out here,
Absolutely. Speaking of being, the situation that happens with prison reform and people being in jail, and I know our president's doing a great job of actually addressing that, and I know he went to the prison and sat down with people. I thought that was great. And now they're actually making some changes in legislation about the sentences, how being so long and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that? Because I know that, you've had that experience. Do you think that the sentences are too long and that it's too hard for people once they get out of jail to transition?
Absolutely. One thing people don't realize, and this might sound like a crazy statement, but prison is easy. Um, Prison is easy for a person to live in. So a lot of times, we have the people on the outside have the concept of prison being so hard and rough, and it is that it can be that at times. But for the most part, prison is easy because you don't have any real responsibilities. You're taking a young person, 17, 19, 20, 25, whatever. You're taking a person and put him in a situation where if he chooses to, he can sit up and play cards, play chess, lift weights, go to the library. He does a lot of leisurely things every day. He's not doing anything to really grow. He has no bills. He doesn't have to really work a job. He doesn't have to take care of a woman, his child. You have no responsibility. So you take a person, a man, and put him in that situation for any extended amount of time, and then you release him. Now he has all these stresses. Now he has to pay a bill. He has to pay rent. He has to find a job. He has to take care of he gets a girlfriend. He has to take out to dinner. And you can't get a job. You got a kid you got to take care of, and you're not prepared. You've been sitting in a box for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, chilling. Chilling, and then you're released with expectations to hop right back in the swing of things and be productive. It's not it's not realistic. So right now the rehabilitation system is not really geared towards rehabilitating people or even teaching people. How do you say it? It's how can you rehabilitate someone that's never been habilitated? Because a lot of guys, I went when I was 17, so I was working at McDonald's. I had a little job, but most of the guys, end up in that spot at their age, or even young, they've never worked a job before, or they never had any real responsibilities. And then you put them, up for 10 years, and then you let him back out. He never had responsibilities, or he was never really habilitated or learned how to live life to begin with.
Exactly.
So we can talk all day on that.
All day on that, right?
But there's a lot of changes need to be made.
Yeah. Well, you're a great advocate for it, and so much of an inspiration to so many people. What you've done with the Sweetie Pies franchise is crazy.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it pushing. I would like for us to be the first African American owned and operated restaurant franchise, because as far as I know, we don't have that in America right now. You got Panda Expresses, and you have all type of Mexican foods, and we do not have not even chicken. We don't have a national African American owned and operated franchise. If you think about it, so that's what my goal is. Sweetie Pies. I would like for us to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we do chicken. If nobody does chicken like we do.
Where's the chain at? We got Popeyes, the Colonel, Popeyes, the Colonel, Churches, and you got Polo Loco, and you got a bunch of franchises. But there is not an African American owned and operated restaurant franchise in America. So that's what I'm shooting for Sweetie Pies.
Just doing this show and being with OWN, did it make you want to dream bigger? Did it give you the drive to want a lot more for yourself and for your family?
Absolutely. When I was in prison, I studied writing, and I studied acting. So when I came home and I enrolled in college. I got locked up when I was in high school, so I did as much as I could within the prison to try to better myself, because I realized I had to come home someday. But when I came home, I started pursuing acting, and I kept on writing. And I started off writing plays, and then someone said, "Hey, why don't you write?" I transitioned into the television shows, and someone said, "Why don't you try to write something about your restaurant, you and your mom?" And that's what I was trying to get away from. I was trying to get away from the restaurant. I'm like, I'm going to school. I'm gonna go to college. I ain't gonna be here scraping these plates and washing these dishes. 'Cause I was in the restaurant every day. I get up in the morning, go to college. Go to a little junior college, and come back. Work at the restaurant. And at nighttime I'll be sitting up writing and stuff. So then I finally wrote something about the restaurant, and the doors, I started knocking down some doors and meeting the right people, got it into the right hands, and got bought by Oprah. I was amazed, and that was like, that's never supposed to happen. There's never, you can't tell a guy that was in prison for 10 years that he's supposed to be able to do anything to, make it this far. So that was, it was just a blessing. And yes, I believe anything's possible now. Okay, this is Tim, and welcome to Sweetie Pies, and you watching CNikky.com.